friend of mine who plays in the Figs, Donnelly, Pete Donnelly, he's covering
Such a
some
good
big-
band.
Yeah.
We were actually, my brother, not my brother, another buddy and I were thinking of paying them to play his house. I mean, that's a big thing now. You know, they have a lot of like, you know, ridiculous guys like me now. They have a few bucks,
Yeah.
and they were big fans of Grand Park or the
Yeah.
Figs, and they're like,
Well,
and they'll say,
I met
look,
somebody last time
I'll
I
give you
played.
I'll give you $2,000 if you want to play my house.
Yeah.
These guys like, they'll drive over.
Yeah, no, and they're close enough, they can.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
they do. I think they're taking a little bit of a hiatus, those guys, because they both got babies and families, and they're both doing their things. But he's out playing bass for Solo Salad in South America right now, while I'm doing my thing this month.
You should meet up down here. All right, let's do this
Yeah.
thing, and then I can ask you lots of questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, there you go. That's the audio.
Yeah. Here we go. Tommy Stinson, tell me about One Man Mutiny. What do you like best about it?
That I own it, and it's mine. I spent a lot of years, you know, putting out records for other people, and really not getting enough out of it, or getting anything out of it that seemed tangible. So it was like, you know, I'm gonna go the DIY way and try and make my own. I needed to find a place to put myself somewhere out there by myself in a way, just to be able to stay able to make records now. So my favorite thing about it is I'm doing it from the ground up. You know, with my partner Benny here and some other folks helping out, and it's like I should have probably done it 20 years ago, but I think it's the kind of the thing right now. It's kind of, if there's going to be any place for me to live with my music, it's probably now. You know, it's this time.
And it's taken a while since Village Gorilla had your last one. What's taken so long? I mean, obviously you've been doing some tours with Soul Asylum and the Gunners.
Yeah.
What else have you been up to?
It's been a lot of that. I mean, it's been a lot of touring and playing shows. And I moved from LA in '08 to Philadelphia for 2 years while I was finishing tours and this, that, and the other thing. And we just now moved in March to upstate New York. So just getting all these things together and compiling enough songs. I mean, it really kind of comes down to that. If I've been touring a lot, I don't really ride on the road. I got to wait till I'm sort of in my happy place or in my box, my hole, whatever it is that I'm going to be in to write. And I usually have to kind of have some time to do that. That's basic answer to that.
And you're putting it out on your own label. Now you've been on small labels and big labels. Tell me, what's it like to have your own label?
Well, it's a lot of trial and error. I mean, we're trying to figure out what makes sense. Where should I, because I got to put my own money into it. And I knew that going in. I knew I was going to have to figure out, like, what makes sense. Should I get a publicist? Should I get someone to help with the marketing idea? Maybe I can get both. And, we're trying to figure out where's a good place for me to invest in my own music to where it's going to mean something and be meaningful. A lot of times with record labels, big or small, they'll just have across the board way of doing things, and they'll give you a publicist that's not very good, and you'll do this, and then they'll give you a marketing team that'll try and do this, and none of it really has anything to do with you or your music necessarily. It's just that's what we do. And so I'm trying to find ways to figure out how to touch the people that might be interested in my music or my kind of music, I guess.
Well, it used to be Tommy gets his tonsils out. Now Tommy's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What's it like to be an entrepreneur? Is it hard risking your own money?
Actually it's not, because really when you're working with a major record label or even an independent record label, you're basically borrowing money from them to do this thing, the way they see it or however it's going to get done. At least I know what I'm going to do with it, and I'll be able to see the results, bad or good. I can just go, okay, well, I won't do that next record, because it's really, to me, it's about this is sort of a leap of faith in a way, but it's also me finding a way to put out not just one record, but my records down the road. So it's kind of like it's a lot of trial and error, and it's at least I'll know where my money's going.
Well, speaking of the road, it seems like artists today make more money on the road than selling CDs. Is this good? Is this bad? Or is it just you have to deal with it?
I think it's transitional. I think that the part of the reason why the industry is kind of falling apart is that they haven't figured out how to make the jump to the new way of doing things. I mean, there's been this sort of thing happening throughout musical history. I mean, they went from 78s to LPs to CDs and then MP3s. There's a transition that has to happen. If you're on the front of that curve, you're gonna be all right. If you're waiting in the wings back there for someone to tell you how to do it, figure it out, you're gonna just lose it. You're gonna be gone. So for our thinking is that we're trying to figure out that a bit, and there's ways to make money and tour off of all of it together as a whole. I mean,
Well, what do you think about other revenue streams like video games or movie soundtracks? You've done a soundtrack.
all that stuff is hugely important and helpful. I think again, I scored a movie for Sony called Catch and Release, which was a huge boost for me. One, it was a blast to do. It was something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I did it with BT, and we just had a really good time doing it. And I did very well on that. And you know, for me, and as you go along now, it's like a lot of bands are doing that now, and they're doing them for free because they want to just be in the movie and their music. It's just another tool in a way. So there's all these tools available to you. And there's a lot of tools we don't even know yet. There's so many tools we don't even know that are available to us. And we're trying to stumble through the dark here and figure out which ones are going to work and which ones make sense.
Well, speaking of tools, it seems like a lot of bands would rather have a hit on YouTube and go viral than go into the top 10. What does social networking and Facebook mean to people's careers right now? Has it supplanted MTV?
God, I hope so. I think that it probably is going to do roughly what that did for music in the 80s, and I think it's going to do that for music now. Obviously, it's showing its way. I mean, it's turning stars out of kids in their bedroom with a funny dance move. I mean, it's just making.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's good. I think it's free, and I think that people want to be entertained, and I think if you can entertain them in that little square on your computer, then they might go, well, you know what, he's playing a show down the street. Maybe we should go check them out. He might have something, more interesting to do,
It also seems like the American middle class, the musical middle class is missing. I mean, you have Rod Stewart and Fleetwood Mac playing arenas and Paul McCartney, and then you have a lot of people playing clubs. Now, you're playing clubs as a solo artist, but you also play stadiums. Are we losing the music middle class?
Definitely, and it's more here than it is in Europe or South America. I think a lot of, I think in general, I think they're a lot less pigeonholed or fragmented musically. And people in Europe are just like, I love music, I love this, I love that, and it's not so like genre oriented, And I think that's a really good thing about Europe is that they got that going on. And I think what's missing in the States is there's no one figuring out how to sell music that people my age or 30 to 45, 50 years old, no one's really even considering them, even though they're the ones that are spending the money or it's part of the people. And I think that's a shame. I think you're kind of like getting left out.
Well, now you're making more money, I hope, with Guns N' Roses than when you were starting out as a 12-year-old basis with the Replacements. Is it just a given? You watch all these behind-the-music specials. Is it just a given that musicians starting out will start their career on a sour note with a bad contract and lose money? How can they protect themselves?
It's not a given, especially now the bands really they're shying away from those deals. There's been a lot of changes that have happened that I think have really just made people go the DIY route or just, indie record labels. And that's because they want to stick it to you even more so. Even though they have nothing they really offer you but money right now, they just want to try and, it's just it's a short outlook for your career. I think the problem has always been for new and young bands, and it's gotten, I think, worse. And I think what's happening now is making it good, is that you come into a record company that wants to sign you or a band, and all they're thinking is they want to make much money off of you right now. They don't care about your career. They don't care about what you do, your family, nothing. They want you to go make them their money now and seal it. And I think, when you got you got things like American Idol out there, stuff like that, they're not making careers out of that stuff, I don't think. I mean, a few, but not like long lasting, nothing that's going to be in the history books, music history down the road. So I think I think what's happening now is a lot of bands are just trying to figure out how to do their own thing and make their own sort of, you know, grassroots sort of thing. If you're a young kid and you can get out there and work the pavement, you can do a lot more than a record company's gonna do for you.
And one of your own things lately has been actually giving money back. Speaking of
Yeah.
money, you've been giving back to Haiti. Tell me about this project.
Well, I went down and well, before I went down there, when the earthquake happened, it did something to me emotionally that happened when Katrina hit, and that was, I felt like I gotta do something. This is a very important thing that's happened, these people need help. And what I did back then was I gave some money to the Red Cross, and I was very disappointed about what happened, what I heard happen after that. And what, you know, what should have happened, you know, was that those people should have had help, and they really didn't get enough help, I thought. And when Haiti happened, I had the same feeling of like, I gotta do something, but I'm not just gonna give money away, I gotta get, you know, emotionally involved here to do something. Because otherwise it's just throwing some money away, and I don't wanna do that, I wanna get down and do something. So Benny and I went down to Haiti after meeting, I met up with a friend of mine that knew somebody down there that worked for Tim Katek. And we went down there, we saw the school, we met the kids, we met Father Simon, and it just seemed like, this is why we're doing this. These people want our help, and our money's gonna go from here to there where the help is needed, and it's gonna do something good. And I'll probably do it the rest of my life. I've inspired a few people that have donated a lot of money. A friend of mine that's, you know, who's you know, dedicating part of his estate. You know, it's just stuff like that. It's beautiful. It's like it's what you can do if you just try to do something. It's huge. Like my whole thing about Haiti and that is I'm just trying to encourage people, whether it's Haiti or not, if you know, you pick your battles and the things that you want to do, just do something. You know, I don't make great money, I'm not rich, I'm not a wealthy guy, I don't have a mansion in the hills, that crap, but I got enough to help out and give back. And that's, you know, people gotta do that.
But you are and have been a member of the two best bands ever, in my opinion.
Well, thank you.
And speaking about money, if you remember, Lorne Michaels went on Saturday Night Live and he held up a check for $3,000 to get the Beatles back together. He says, if you come down, you can take this check. What would it take for a replacements reunion? What kind of a check would someone have to hold up?
You know, they've been holding up pretty good ones already, and you know, we couldn't probably do it for the money. We'd have to do it to have fun first and foremost, and I think that's just a daunting thing. I think that I think Chris has gone in his direction with art, and he's done very well with it, and he's having a great run. And I think, you know, for Paul and I to just go and do it alone, we'd have to really sit down and just kind of go, let's go play some songs for these people that really want us to play. It'll make them happy. Let's go try and have fun and see what it does. There'd be real light about it. But what ends up happening every time we talk about it, I think that it just becomes a little too precious an issue. And like, you know, we really want to, you know, tarnish it. Like we didn't break up in any sort of nasty way. We just kind of walked away from it, let it sit there. So it might be best to just let it sit there than to take the money off the table and just kind of, you know, look like old guys that just, you know, are trying to recapture their youth. Not that we'd ever do that. I don't think we'd ever try that, but I don't want to look like that either.
All right. I have some questions from my brother and his friend Royce.
All right.
And they kill me if I didn't ask you this.
All right, let's go.
First of all, what do you listen to now? What do you like?
I like a lot of stuff. A lot of Queens of the Stone Age on the old iPod right now. And a band from Canada I really like called Land of Talk. They're awesome. My fiance and I happened to stumble across them. We got to have a night out in Philly. And we just so happens that one of the band that we were following, this band Land of Talk, was playing. And they were playing that night in Philly. And wow, that's great. Got a sitter and everything. So we've been watching them play. It was fantastic.
Now, would you ever sign this band to your label? You've got a label now.
They got their own deal already, I think, with, I don't remember the name.
But are you going to be scouting bands?
Yeah, we're going to be looking for stuff to do. I mean, that's the idea was to make my own label, was to do my own music and other things I felt like doing as I feel like, you know, I think I'm going to probably kind of wind down the touring aspect of my life pretty soon, because it's a lot more work than I care to do anymore.
All right, this one comes from Royce. Can you give me your favorite Johnny Thunder story? So you guys played with him up at the Beacon over 2 decades ago, but yeah, Johnny's a New York legend.
You know, the coolest thing about that was we all stuck around after sound check to watch him sound check. And he came in with his guys, they just come back from Japan, and he's silk suits on and stuff, and he had a hairdresser meet him there, and he walked out on stage with his Les Paul Jr. and he just started playing his amp, cranked it up, and like, we're just sitting there in the audience in the seats at the Beacon going, there's the sound. That's it. It's just him, his fingers, and that same amp he's probably rented all around the world, but it was, I think, the Fender Twin, just cranked all the way up pretty much. But it just, he started playing, and you go, wow, it's not just the amp and the guitar, it's the fingers.
And you can hear, whenever you hear Bob play,
Yeah.
you would hear the Johnny Thunders.
You could hear a lot of things in those fingers. My brother had psychotic fingers, which were great.
Do you have a favorite Bob Stinson story? Not to equate the two.
One time we were playing the Danceteria, it must have been, 84 or 5 or something. we played a little prank on him. He had a Stratocaster he was playing, and we get ready to go on stage, and right before we went on, we took a marker and we drew extra dots on the fretboard, so we wouldn't know he was playing. He didn't miss
Freaked him out.
He didn't freak him out at all, he didn't miss a thing, he just kind of was just like, whatever. Well, that was great.
Here's a one from my brother. When you were playing with the Replacements and touring when you were 12 and 13, a teenager, how did you also go to school? Did you just miss school?
Yeah, I dropped out when I was in the middle of 10th grade. Before that, we would only tour like regionally or in the summer. We didn't really do a lot of touring when I was actually in school.
Now, do you feel like you missed something? Because you're a very literate songwriter. I mean, and maybe you just learned this through experience, but the songs are very literate, especially on One Man Mutiny. I mean, there's some great lyrics in there. Maybe you were better dropping out and reading and learning along the way, but do you miss not having to go to school and college and seeing all these college kids attend your shows?
I think there's a certain amount of being a kid and a teenager that I missed. There's some part of going to school. There was actually a point when I was actually going to go back and take my GED and study up for it and all that stuff. Got too busy, of course. I've always thought about it, and I think that I was such a bad student when I was a kid. It was good that I dropped out because the things that I got interested in, like you said, I started reading things I was interested in. I started, doing things and looking into stuff, art and stuff that I was getting into. And I think I would have never gotten into those things or read anything if I hadn't dropped out.
A lot of time to read on long tours, right? You're on the bus and you got to read something. All right, what's your favorite post-Matt solo album? Because after you guys split up, Paul put out his, Slim put out a great series of solo albums. Chris's two were very good, and then he went to the painting thing. Bash and Pop was fantastic. So if you had to rate the post-Matt solo albums, who do you think did the best?
God, I don't know. That's a tough question to ask. I don't know. I haven't really heard a lot of theirs. I haven't heard Slim's. I've heard Chris's first record was pretty good. I like that. I've played in a couple of Paul's records, but I haven't necessarily sat and listened to them a whole bunch. But the one that's got Mannequin Shop on it was pretty funny. I thought that sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it was
pretty tongue-in-cheek and goofy, but it's good.
All right, final big question.
All right.
Axl or Paul?
They're the same.
Why is that?
They're both equally artistic and very, what's the word I'm thinking? Very serious, very, sort of dogmatic and sort of in their heads. You know what I mean? They really get up in that head and they think of stuff and I'll say to both of them, I've said it to both of them, they just kind of relax a little bit and like let the world happen and let it go a little bit.
Tom Stinson.
Okay, thanks. All right.
Good?
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and I